Hey everyone, this is Matt. Quick note before this episode begins. You may or may not have noticed it has an explicit warning on the episode. That's because we slipped up a couple times, and although this isn't anything that would earn an R or even a hard PG-13, there are a couple curse words, and some people may prefer to ignore those or not hear them, so we just want to give you the heads up before, since we weren't as good at self-censoring as we usually are. Otherwise, enjoy the episode and thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome to Keeper's Corner Podcast, where we're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. With your hosts, as always, Matthew Sterling, Michelle Brooks, and Brandon Brooks. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Keeper's Corners podcast. Tonight, it's just Matt and Brandon. Michelle is out due to health reasons. We wish her the best, getting better. And we may or may not have another guest joining us later in the episode. If he shows up, you'll find out. Brandon, I think we need to start by addressing the elephant in the room that is the 7-1 beatdown Florida gave to Utica.
Not the way you want to start a season at all.
No, no, not ideal. There are a lot of issues with that occurred on the field. I would like to address one of them specifically right here at the start of the episode and be very clear in what I'm saying. At no point in this do I want anyone to think that I am blaming the officiating for Utica's outcome. They played sloppy. Their passes were bad. They missed a lot of shots. They couldn't finish. They had issues with line shifts and almost turning the ball over or turning the ball over during them as they're getting people on and off the field.
Based on how they were playing, they would have lost it on their own. But continue.
That said, performance, as bad as Utica's performance was, the officials' performance was equally as bad. And I'm not saying that because there was a foul discrepancy, 21 fouls against Utica, 11 against Florida. I'm saying that because I have seen better acting in high school plays than what we saw out of the Florida Tropics with their embellishment, and not once did they get called on it. It was like I was expecting the Wilhelm scream that everyone knows from Star Wars to be heard across the arena as they went flying left and right.
Yeah, it was definitely not. I don't know how best to describe it. It was. I mean, there were some that were, legitimate fouls. You could see some things, but for the majority of them, they definitely played it up very, very, they embellished it very much. There's a couple of examples that stick right with me. I don't know if you're going to go through certain ones, but, there was the Silva one.
Yes, I was going to mention the Silva one.
Was the most blatant to me, simply because, breaking this down, Joey essentially is playing the ball. Silva plays the ball, grabs it, holding it. Joey essentially kind of not necessarily slides into him, but they both end up on the ground facing each other. They're both looking at each other. You can, from where we are sitting, which is across the arena, you can essentially see Joey saying, "Are you okay?" before he even gets up, and then stands up, offers his hand. Silva gets up and then immediately goes back down. Now, you could say, okay, he knocked the wind out of him, but I feel like you would notice that a little bit quicker than 10 seconds after the fact. Now, I mean, granted, I don't even think there was a call after that, if I remember correctly.
No, there wasn't. The play was stopped because keeper had control of the ball.
But that was still, to me, that was the most blatant example of embellishment.
Yeah, like that. Oh, he knocked the wind out of him, or yeah, the ball just kind of tapped him in the little
the grundle,
the sensitive area, and he was dealing with that. Look, we're both guys here. We know how you react when you get a cup check.
It's
you
immediate.
Don't roll to the ground and grab your right shoulder.
Yeah.
And if you get the wind knocked out of you, you aren't grabbing at your right shoulder. Now, if his shoulder's messed up, it would have been a freak accident. But I have watched that play on replay 30 or 40 times trying to see where the injury occurred. And I can't find it.
Yep.
And it's such a slow, bad... Oh, roll against the board, fall back, lay there, grab my shoulder, talk to the ref, ask why there's not a foul, grab my shoulder again. Medic comes out. They do a little chit chat. Gets up. And then, it took a couple minutes for him to get back on his feet. So maybe there was something. But if it's a shoulder injury, it's his right shoulder. Joey's knee that popped up under him was his right knee. They're on opposite sides of the body.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Just play the game. Like, I understand, unfortunately, that flopping and embellishment is gamesmanship, and it's been part of soccer forever. And these embellishment penalties are there to try to cut down on that and clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 7-1, and you're still trying to draw these tic-tac fouls out as blue cards because you look like a rag doll stepped on a landmine. It's not gamesmanship. It's the same kind of poor sportsmanship that we saw after the game when a certain player was out there humping the turf in victory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's classless. It doesn't belong in the game. It's a family sport as family entertainment, considering all the youth soccer players that get brought to every game around the country. And you're acting like that? Dude, grow up. You win with class, you lose with class.
To be completely fair, they definitely... Florida recognized what exactly they could get away with.
Yes.
And they played to that strength. They used every card in their arsenal, including embellishing a little bit, to get in good positioning, they were able to score a couple of goals off of these penalties that they were able to acquire. I mean, we saw it a couple of times that they were able to, they were able to do that. Now, there's nothing wrong with using everything you have in your arsenal. There isn't. That is playing to win, plain and simple. That's playing to win.
It's playing to win. It's taking advantage of the outside factor, in this case, the officials, not being up to par to keep these things under control.
Yep. To be able to recognize the difference between embellishment and actual, legitimate fouls. Again, not that Utica, not that Florida needed it to destroy Utica, but
yeah. Whew. But it wasn't even just embellishment where you're seeing issues. They had issues communicating amongst themselves. We'll get into it a little bit more later, but that blue card on Slav at the very end of the first quarter, it's tough, very hard to see on the replay. Utica was having some technical difficulties, so the stream came out at 720p instead of the usual 1080p. Looks like he gets him with an elbow in the back. Might be upper shoulder, might be neck. It's really hard to tell. It's very blurry, even frame by frame. It doesn't come through clearly.
Mhm.
But the official closest to it initially calls it a common foul. The senior referee, who's still on the other side of half midfield, barely past the other yellow line, overrules it and turns it into a blue.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it being overruled if you're in position to make the call. The guy that made the call is 15 feet away. You're 100.
He clearly had, the closest official,
Yes.
has the better view in that, most likely in that instance. I mean, you can talk about angles, you can talk about whatever, but in that instance, it basically happens right in front of him. It's pretty clear to see what happened, most likely. However, I didn't agree. Well, obviously, a lot of us in the arena did not agree with a lot of the calls that happened.
No.
Now, and I mean, as you have already mentioned, I mean, that many fouls called against Utica is something we're not used to. That is a lot of fouls, I feel, to be called against, in any game against one single side.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely felt out of the norm, but again, it is what it is.
I guess I'll just mention two other instances that really irked me watching the tape again. And there's a play in the second quarter where Rafa Godoy bodies up on Sobreira. I'm going to say it wrong. Sobreira. And he plays through the foul, is given advantage, gets it in the corner, shoots the ball on goal. Andrew handles it easily, and then they call the foul.
Mm-hmm.
You just gave him advantage. He played to that advantage. Once they have that advantage, the foul doesn't. That's unless you're calling it back for a blue card or a yellow or a red or something more serious, the advantage overrules the foul, and that's by the laws of the game.
Right.
I've read that just to make sure that I'm not crazy here.
Yeah, it was definitely a very odd game to watch. Not
I don't know. I guess the other one that annoyed me a lot was the delay of game yellow card that was called on Florida
early on in the second.
And it's not that it was called, although I really don't see how either of their delay of games were delay of games. Like, I have seen much worse from players get allowed more frequently. But the official goes over and explains it to the sideline and the bookkeepers and the PA announcer. And it gets announced to the arena as a 2-minute power play. Which,
yes,
that we immediately have fans yelling about how there are 5 guys on the field still.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely very loud in there. Now, of course, go ahead. I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. The 5-minute yellow card was the correct call for penalty for the delay of game. But if you can't relay what the penalty is to the guys on the sidelines and the PA announcer correctly, how can we trust that anything else you're doing is correct? Like, it's a very simple, here it is, delay a game, 5 minutes, yellow.
Which, right. I mean, we all heard delay of game, 5 minutes, yellow, which usually with yellow cards, it's not a power play. That's just kind of what that's what we know from watching the game for, a year and a half, 2 years, just about. I mean, granted, we're still young. We're still youngins in the game, but still, we've seen enough games to know, like, yellow cards normally don't mean power play. However, when you announce a delay of game, yellow card, and then you immediately start announcing power play, and then there's still 5 guys on the field, you are going to get people yelling at you that there's 5 guys on the field when they believe that there shouldn't be, because you literally called it a power play. Now, that the fault could be anywhere up the chain.
Yeah.
Anywhere from the referee or the officials on the field all the way up to the box. Somewhere along the chain, something got relayed incorrectly. And we don't know where that link was. But
yeah, mine is
still
pure speculation where it's coming from, but given the way the rest of things were handled, it's one of the that old Occam's razor where it's like, well, this one's far more likely given what we know.
The simplest answer is usually the right one. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's look, we're gonna have different groups officiating these games. Hopefully they can. I'm not even gonna say be more fair, because the calls both ways were bad, but we want to not let this embellishing get out of hand. We don't want things to go crazy. You want things under control from the officials, and they failed to maintain that.
There's an old saying about that. I believe that was turned into a chant. Something about, please study the rules. Please study the rules. Something along those lines.
But I think we've said enough about the officials and the flopping, and hopefully when we see Florida again in a month down in Lakeland, things will be cleaner from an officiating standpoint, from a playing standpoint, and from a sportsmanship standpoint all around.
The only thing that I have left to say about it is hopefully, we can see some recognition of an embellishment and whatnot. But really what I want to say is, I said it already, but Florida came in, they executed a game plan. They used every advantage that they could to win, which any team honestly should. Maybe not, obviously not to the extent of, laying out the entire other team, for instance, but, using every advantage that you can, or that you are essentially given, you should use. And they did to the best of their ability, and they did it very well. Unfortunately for us, that did not work out for us very well.
All right. So yes, I'm trying to get a little more structure this year as we talk about post game, and especially after a game like that one where everything went bad. Like I said, there was bad passing, bad subbing, bad defense, bad finishing, bad all around.
It was a very rough game to watch from an execution standpoint for Utica.
So I'd like to hear your play that changed the game.
Oh, I was trying to think about this because there was a lot of plays that I felt really influenced the flow of the game. And I really feel like what changed the tone was, for me, when Bo kind of got a little bit heated. I don't remember the exact quarter.
It was the first half. I remember that much.
First half, but I don't remember the exact. If it was first quarter, second quarter, doesn't matter. First half, either way. Bo, gets essentially knocked down, and is upset, which Bo gets upset. We know that. We know that he can be somewhat of a, for lack of a better term, he can be somewhat of a hothead from time to times. We've seen it in the past, Bo saying a saying a bad word, and Bo has gotten in his own in enough, I don't want to say scuffles, but basically, he's
Mm-hmm.
gotten in players' faces. He's been in the thick of it before. We have seen this. And to me, when he got up and he started getting in their face, he's getting frustrated. We know from past experience that once he starts getting frustrated, he is out. Like,
Mm.
that is basically Bo checking out. We've seen it. I recognized it, and that was really the game changer for me. Once your captain is essentially checking out of the game, the rest of your squad starts to fall apart. You don't have I feel like you don't have that structure anymore, and that's really bad. You need a strong captain that's going to lead the team and be essentially a role model, if you will, for the team.
Mm.
Once your captain starts, going downhill, you're going to go with him 9 times out of 10, unless someone else steps up. And that was the one play for me that I think really started to show us going downhill in that game.
All right, so I'll share with you mine. It's the first quarter. It's 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
Utica gets the ball on a breakaway. Nate's going down the middle of the field. Logan's coming on the right. One defender and the keeper to beat. And this could have tied the game barely a minute and a half after falling behind 1-0. And as we've stated, passing was not crisp. And instead of playing the ball to where Logan was going, it ended up directly under him. So he couldn't get that, one-time shot.
Mm-hmm.
Struggled to settle it because it was somewhat not even behind him, just like directly under him, like step on top of it, pacing,
Yep.
And then before you know it, Florida's turned it into a counterattack their way. It's 2-0. I think if Utica can draw level, just right there, it's not even so much a we can hang with these guys moment, or it set the tone for the rest of the game, which is even when we look like we're going to get something together, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it went.
And we saw it again a few more times, and yeah. That bad passing, we saw it with, I think it was Bo passed it back to Slav in our own defensive quarter.
Yeah.
And he immediately got double teamed and then had to pass it back to Andrew. And then all of a sudden we're playing boom ball again. And
they knew to put, they were putting the pressure on. Like they were playing aggressive, very aggressive, and nothing wrong with that. You should be. If you want to win, you need to play aggressive. You need to want the ball. They wanted the ball at every opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Your stat that tells the story.
Do I have to pick one?
I'll tell you mine.
All right.
I'll share this one first, no problem. All right, we know Utica finished with 1 goal.
Yep.
If you go to the
you're gonna take mine.
If you go to the stat sheet, how many shots on goal do you think Utica had?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at how many saves there were.
There were 35 shots on goal.
Yep.
30. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You can't shoot that poorly. Like, your finishing shoes were not there. Now, Silva had some amazing saves, which is why it's even more frustrating about that part we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. But like, he was stopping breakaways, he was stopping everything. But if I'm not wrong, he only had 19 saves. So that means 15
20.
shots on. Okay, 20 saves. 1 goal allowed. So that means 14 of their shots on goal weren't even a threat.
Yep.
They were around the glass. They weren't on net. They were off the wall, off the crossbar, off the,
which
or they got blocked.
I mean, I know where a lot of those. I remember where a lot of those shots came from, off-target shots,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them were from Slav. A lot of them were either high and wide or just high. They were never. I don't remember seeing very much on target from him, which was. I don't know. I've got some thoughts on that. Just frankly, I don't know how long he's actually been practicing with the team.
Right.
Because he was kind of a last minute addition, it felt like. And I think throwing him right back in the mix might have been a mistake. I'll be completely frank. I think he needed some practice time with the team. I really do. And, I'm not going to question Coach. Like, he had a reason to put him in.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. I don't know what it is. He knows better than I do.
Injuries and visa issues.
Yes, exactly. Like, he knows way better than I do that, that he wanted to put him in, whatever the reason was. I mean, besides the fact that Slav is a very good player, his shots were just off target all night. I don't remember seeing anything that was necessarily on target from him. Out of those 6, I can remember just off to the left, off to the right, straight up the middle, way too high. Like, he was chipping it.
Yeah, there were a lot of bad shots taken with a lot of pressure, trying to split defenders and easy angles for Silva to cover.
And that's the other thing is Utica, or not Utica. Florida always had pressure. Always, 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 always. The entire game, they were putting pressure on the players, as they should.
Yeah.
They were hungry. They wanted it.
All right, your turn. Let's hear your stat when you're done with your hot cocoa.
Listen, my hot cocoa is delicious. All right. You're not gonna
I'm
take it away
you.
from me.
I'm not shaming you. Well, no,
No, you already know my stat. My stat is those 20 saves from Hugo. I mean, from Silva. I mean, that was just like watching him. He was on his game. He was on point. He played well. Like, he saved so many just good shots, bad shots, didn't matter. And I mean, he was saving everything. And when he needed to, he he was a wall, plain and simple, that they just could not get past. And then supplementing him with the defense, it was a insurmountable task with how we were playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, you could tell which team hadn't played in 20 months and which team did get to play.
Yeah, and looking at the weekend, I mean, it was, if you look at, I'm going to stat row for 1 minute. In the game before, I mean, he had 17 saves. In our game,
Right.
He had 20. I mean, he had 80%, 81% the night before, and then 95 in our game, which is, I mean, that's insane. Not unheard of, but just that is still so high. And again, good on him. I applaud him very much. Like, that was, he played out of his mind. Not just last night. Oh, Jesus. Not just Sunday, but all weekend. Like, I applaud him. He played exceptional. But yeah, that's mine. Like, easy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Your bright spot from this otherwise dark shit show of a game.
The bright shiny spot. Oh, you mean besides your bald head?
Okay, that's uncalled for. That's 5
Listen,
minutes. You're 5 minutes.
Somebody's got to say it. Easily the bright spot in this whole ordeal was shin unit. 100%. I applaud him almost as much as I do Hugo Silva, because Jake did everything in his power to try and do something in that game. He was all over the field, kind of played into the confusion, into the misplays of our team. One minute he's on defense, the next minute he's on offense, trying to finish, trying to get a goal, trying to do something when no one else seemed to want to. I saw a couple of our guys literally just stop. They would get beat up, they would get pushed around, and then literally just drop their arms, sigh, and almost kind of watch the ball go away. And that's extremely disheartening. But to see Jake running his butt off the entire game, and then like towards the end, who's the one person that sprinted as hard as they could to stop that Silva goal? Pretty sure it was Schindler. He was everywhere on that field. He was I have never seen someone run around as much as that man did. Like he poured his heart and soul out on that field when I felt no one else was. And it was the one invigorating part of that game to watch. I'm done.
Good. I agree, Schindler was one of the few players that did get to play last year and didn't look nearly as rusty as others.
Yeah.
Mine might come as a bit of a surprise for that because he didn't play last year. He also barely got to play the year before because of injury.
Okay.
And it's another defender, and I think we need to see more of him in the coming game, especially because we're thin at defense right now.
Mm-hmm.
With Obasi down and Toby out on visa issues, we only have 4 defenders.
Yep.
This player is Logan Roberts. He had a few breakaways where everyone, as we've already said, forgot their finishing shoes on Sunday. So I'm not going to hold that against him as much as I would normally. He was also one of the few people that when he kicked it up into second gear to sprint, he was beating Florida defenders.
And he was playing hard when they had the ball to try and steal it back.
Yes.
We had a lot of our guys just kind of dancing around when they got the ball and just letting them do whatever, set up, play, whatever they wanted to do. It was just kind of watching them. We were watching them. We were watching our guys watching them.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he adds that energy, and maybe it's the 5 o'clock shadow and the new haircut, but I feel like when we last saw him, he was a boy, and now he is a man. Like, he came ready to play, even if very few others did.
No question. Yeah, our defense was hungry. Our defense was hungry. I wish I could have said the rest. Wish I could say that about our forward line, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Nate was playing hard. Bo was playing hard for a little while.
There were a lot of mental slip-ups all around, though. Yeah, I mean, just giant brain farts, like the Bo pass back to Slav. Or do you remember? I think it was Pat Thompson had called for a sub and was headed toward the bench, and Slav didn't pay attention to it, and then heel flicked it in his direction and almost gave it up.
Yep.
But luckily, Pat turned around, and just bad communication, just brain farts, and hopefully that can get cleaned up before this Sunday.
Yep. So I just want to talk about one more thing.
Sure.
An observation that I made from the crowd, actually, during the game, probably the second half. I heard a few people behind us talking about they need to send out Tim Goldman at this point. And not because like they're doubting Tim, but because they know, hitting my microphone, they know his influence on the crowd, and the crowd influences the game.
Yes.
They were literally essentially asking for him to help provide some energy.
Mhm.
And to me, I mean, we've hung around Tim, I think, enough to know that that is absolutely true. Like, I talk him up a lot. I can't help it. He's easy to talk about, and I honestly agree. At that point, number one, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they did play him eventually, but wasn't for very long, and then he basically got thrown into the boards and right back off the field he went, and then served some more penalties.
Mhm.
Um, he definitely could be a game changer. Not so much in, maybe not so much in the talent field yet, but definitely in the almost in the crowd influence, or the just the energy in the room. He can change the energy in a room.
Right.
We've seen it, and I think you never know. That really could have helped to influence the game in general. Maybe not turn it around, but put some more numbers up on the board.
Mhm.
Potential.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the general feeling of lack of energy defensively,
Mhm.
um, offensive, pretty much all around in all aspects of the game, which is why I want to go back to your play that changed the game.
Mhm.
I almost wish Bo had done something to get thrown out.
Oh my God.
That arena would have gone nuts. The team would have immediately come to his defense. It would have galvanized them, given them something to unite about besides winning the game, which apparently wasn't enough.
Yep.
I don't know if it changes things, but it at least puts some fight in them.
Basically, Bo falling on his sword and going out for that game, potentially more, probably more,
Definitely more,
and
because it probably would have
yeah,
come when he went over to the bench and was yelling at the Florida players and showing how he's getting elbowed in the back and nothing's happening. Like, I
yep.
was almost certain he was about to reach across the bench and pull him and start yelling in their face, like, "You listen to me, you dumb mother."
I mean, would that have been, would that have been energizing to see? Sure. Would it have made a ton of difference? Maybe for a little while. In the long run, though, would it have really changed much this week and potentially next week and the following week? I think it would have put us in a really bad
Yeah,
position.
probably would have been for the worse, but
It
like,
w-
like
it
I,
might have
I'm
it might have put more numbers up on the board. I mean, that was early on enough that it could have made it very well could have made a serious difference, but that's a too much of a risk,
Yeah,
personally.
no, it is a huge risk. But like, I mean, you see it in other sports where the coach or the star player gets into it and then gets tossed, and all of a sudden the team's like, "Well, we gotta
Yeah.
fight for our guy who's gone."
Yep.
All right, let's put a wrap on that game. We're gonna label it "Do not open." Throw it in the trash. Set that trash on fire. Send it down the river somewhere. Just let's move on from it because God, I never want to have to think about it again.
Never want to have to
Instead,
think about it again, but it is still something to reflect on and something that should be kept in the back of the players' minds. Because I have one last thing to say about it, and it's not. I do I that's why I was like, hang on, I got one more thing. Sorry to hijack it, but
no, you just want to
what
keep
I
persistent.
saw. No, 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 no. Hear me out. Hear me out. What I saw last Sunday was like that late season game, like that late season Utica City that we've seen in past years, where we're next man upping it. We're trying to have our second, third string, whatever. We're having injury problems, we're having visa issues, we're you know just worn out, tired, trying to just get to the end of the season. And again, that was I feel like I've seen it every well, I shouldn't say every year, but the one year we made it all the way to like the playoffs essentially. By that time, I just felt like all the energy was sucked out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that game felt. And it's the first game of the season. It concerns me. It concerns me for this season a lot. And I shouldn't be that concerned because we have a pretty stacked team. But when you have the talent, but when the talent doesn't have their heart in it, neither are we.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to kill it before it can even get going. Now I'm done. Tie it up. Hit it with a flamethrower. Smash it with a truck. I don't care. Whatever you want to do with it.
All right. Before we turn our attention to Sunday and Baltimore coming to town and hopefully a better showing, I want to talk about how do you feel about the mascot keeper?
I know that those of you listening can't see this at the moment, but I am glaring at Matt at the moment through the camera, and I'm not breaking my eyes
He's
off
not
that
blinking.
camera.
It is somewhat intimidating, which is why there's a nervous laugh.
So, okay, I'm going to be as respectful as I can. Because I know I have been told, or we've heard through the grapevine who decided or who designed, made the idea for said mascot. But the iguana bat thing that is our mascot is exceptionally creepy. And I don't know how I feel about it. I do not. So here's the thing: is when you see your mascot, when your mascot comes out, number one, whoever was in that suit, which for the kids at home, it's a person in a suit.
Wow, way to ruin Christmas right before some guy shows up dressed as Santa.
Oh, but no, I'm not going to go there.
Oh, Santa's real, keeper's not.
Have whoever was in that suit needs to have some energy. They did not have energy, and it did not help at all. They rode around the Zamboni, waved, whatnot, but then got out on the field. No energy to it. Literally just stood there with their hands in front of them. And
sad waving the flag.
Sad, kind of just waving the flag a little bit. Like, you are a mascot. Get some damn energy. Take a Red Bull right before you get in that suit. Something. That might have changed it. Maybe if they had whoever it was had some more energy, it might have changed my opinion about it. But in the long run, I question what it even has to do with the game, the soccer, the kicking the ball and stuff like that. And also just, it will haunt my dreams. That's about it. It will haunt my dreams for a very long time.
Yeah. So I will maybe be less polite about it, but I said it before and I stand by it. My description of that mascot, because they announced it as a dragon, and that is not a dragon. That is not a dragon. Nope. No, number one, if the wings are the arms, that's a wyvern or wyvern, however it's pronounced. Not a dragon. Number two, it looks like they took the Jersey Devil, not the mascot. I mean, like the cryptid, and then the cryptid that is the chupacabra, the goat sucker from Mexico, and they mashed them into one, and they took their most horrifying aspects. Like, you want long, weird hair-like spikes off the neck? You got it. You want giant, soulless eyes? Absolutely. How about a gaping mouth that haunts you in your dreams? Yeah, I've woken up in a cold sweat. Brandon, I'm losing it because you're losing it and trying not to lose it.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Like, we have
Wow.
had at least one person tell us their kids are terrified of it.
Yes.
And now you have kids that are normally terrified of mascots in general because they're vaguely human-like but not human. But they're always really little. They're not 10 years old. Like, when you're making a 10-year-old uncomfortable, you did something wrong.
And again, it might have changed if they had, an energy, an inviting presence to them. But being, very reserved, very, very, well, very reserved is really the best way to describe it. If they had, because of that, they had more of a intimidation to them versus an inviting presence, which, makes both the kids and parents and anyone watching not want to get behind them and somewhat uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah. Like, if that's like the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, Gritty, who has the eyes of a serial killer and the smile to go with it. Oh, you're going to Google Gritty, aren't you?
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that thing. Yes. I know Grinny. I actually listen. See, okay. Perfect example. So he may be creepy. Grinny may be exceptionally creepy. Or sorry, it's Gritty.
Gritty,
right?
Gritty.
Yeah. So he may be extremely creepy. But he is entertaining as hell. Whatever. And is, not only entertaining, but again, has that presence about them where you want to give them a hug because they are awesome. So that literally proves my point that it doesn't matter what they look like. What matters is playing, being inviting, being wacky, being entertaining, and ours just is not there yet. Could they get there? Sure. And could we absolutely change our opinion about them once they start playing the part, dancing around, walking around, high-fiving people, whatever, get the person that plays for the mascot formerly known as Audie, or I forgot the new mascot's name.
It's not very hard to remember because it's just Naughty.
Naughty, that's right. Thank you. Jesus. Oh, whoever's in that one, get them. Like, they have energy, they have spirit, they can influence a crowd no matter what suit they're wearing.
All right, I'll make this proposition to you. Or
let's put Michelle in it. Perfect. I love it.
Okay. I mean, she would bring the energy. No, but if the mascot comes out as lifeless and as uninspiring as this last time, and the team follows suit, do we treat it like a cursed image on the internet and bury it where we never see it again?
The mascot?
Yes. Do we retire Keeper, who stole our supporter section name? Oh, that never occurred to you, did it? That never occurred to you. Yeah, they just took the name that they gave the supporter section and then slapped it on the mascot and didn't deliver on any of the benefits for the supporters that they claimed.
I didn't even think about that until you just said that. That, that didn't even occur to me. That Keeper is essentially
one of us.
Literally where I was going.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of
that's a bone I have to pick with the marketing team.
That's kind of some salt in the wound for those that invested not only time and Well, money and time. I should kind
Literally
of reverse
money.
that.
Yeah.
Because we did invest money to get in there, but really, I mean, I know a lot of us in the first season did invest time in making up chants and stuff. I mean, we all kind of pitched in there, which none of those really ever came to fruition. But um, it's also hard when it's only a few of us too to really get a chant going and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely that's kind of salt in the wound.
Mm-hmm.
That hurts.
Speaking
You
of
ruin it.
chants, though, kudos to the ASO girls who started chanting "Crybaby" and "You're a Flopper." That's more energy than we have seen out of any ASO team in the previous 2 seasons.
Yes. City, scheduling or whoever, bring back that ASO team. I don't know which one. I don't remember which one it was, but bring them back. They deserve to come back. We want them in the keeper section like all the time because they were fantastic and they really brought more energy to that section. I know
Mhm.
our row is already very loud and very boisterous. Us, our row essentially being the keeper section, but wow, they were fantastic. I actually had at least one person come up to me after the game and say it was extremely entertaining being in this section. I loved being in this section. It was a lot of fun. And I've never had that before.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the diehard section, and it was nice to have some other
Some other
diehard.
voices besides our own.
Yeah, as anyone listening can tell, my voice is still a little rough. We are well over 72 hours removed from the end of the game, and I am still not back to 100% because I maybe did a lot of yelling.
Just to let you know, Michelle has said that she will rock that suit. So there you go.
Good. Fine. Opens up another seat in our section. Who wants it? No, you must be insane.
And loud
Yeah.
because Michelle is a very loud personality, and we need someone equally as much.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a screening process. There will be a quiz.
So yeah, I guess we can come back to Keeper next week if he shows up with more enthusiasm.
Give him the drum, or them. I should say them because we don't know. Give them the drum. That helps to drum up some enthusiasm. I aim to please.
All right. So Sunday, 2:00. Our old frenemies, the Baltimore Blast, come to town. The team that we love to hate.
Blast.
They also start 0-1, losing to Florida. Their game ended 6-4, so they were better offensively and better defensively. Part of that could be attributed to the fact that they were on a much smaller field, as is always the case when you visit CQ.
Yes, they do have a smaller field. They have the baby field. We've talked that one to death.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
So,
like, that can help you offensively. Is when you don't have as much room to utilize, you are more likely to take a shot.
Yep, agreed.
And if you take a shot, the more shots you take, usually, because we didn't see that Sunday, the more shots you take, usually you score more goals. So the more good shots you take.
Right.
It's kind of a new look for them. Andrew Hoxie's gone. Vinny Dantas is gone. They added, oh my God, I can't think of his name. He played for Milwaukee 2 years ago. Then he was playing in St. Louis last year. And I'm drawing a blank.
Where is he now?
He's playing for
I'll get it.
Baltimore. I will know his name as soon as I look it up.
Yeah, I'm
Max
not
Ferdinand. Max Ferdinand.
Okay. Yep.
They still have Van Zella in goal, so we know that there's a very solid,
Oh yeah, there's
one
a
of the
guy
best. They do
definitely
have.
was the last time what we played, was a force to be reckoned with. So, it's not going to be easy getting one past him.
Yeah. They still have Dos Santos, aka the proctologist, Tony Donatelli. They got Diesel. They lost Peruzzi. It'll be.
They gained Nally.
They added Nelson
Santana.
They also have inactive players: Victor France, Marco Nascimento, Renan Pastre, and Rafa Santos, who, as of now, won't be a factor Sunday, much like Utica's inactive list won't be helpful at all.
No, not particularly.
Should be the usual. I would expect the usual back and forth. It's a rare occasion when either team dominates the other.
Usually we have a good back and forth, a good health. I mean, to be completely frank, whether we like Baltimore or not, as a team, they are good, healthy competition for us.
Yes.
And there is nothing wrong with having a good, close rival.
No,
I mean, as far as I can say, they are definitely one of our very close rivals. We go back and forth with them all the time. We'll take a win, they'll take a win. Doesn't matter. Like it's a healthy relationship.
yes.
It's give and take.
Yeah, it's much better to have that kind of like. I will say this because of the animosity between the teams. The MASL is better when Utica and Baltimore are both good.
Yes.
Kind of like baseball's better when the Yankees and Red Sox are both good.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like those teams or not, you're still showing up because you either hate watch or you know that it's going to be a good game either way.
Yep.
This will be Baltimore's first game on a larger regular size field this year, or closer to normal size.
Mm-hmm.
And it will also be the first chance for us to see if what happened on Sunday was a fluke, just a bad first showing, or something that we need to be worried about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we can have all the talent in the world, if there's no cohesion between them, it's doomed to fail from the
Right.
first whistle. Which, I mean, we have a lot of pieces that have worked together previously, so I don't see how we could have bad. I don't see how we could work together poorly. What do you think?
I was optimistic last week, and so was Michelle. We both said it was going to be a 9-7 game. Now, we predicted Florida's score correctly. And if Utica had brought their finishing shoes with 35 shots on goal, 9 goals would have been about average. They just couldn't finish. I don't see them getting that many opportunities this week. I think we see a little bit more possession that was lacking. I think Hall, if it wasn't done during tape sessions, while they're reviewing the catastrophe that was, it will be in training sessions, and he will have them busting their ass this week to get them ready. I expect a much better defensive performance. I expect a more competent offensive performance, but I don't think we're going to see that explosion yet. Baltimore's too good.
Mm-hmm.
And given the history of these two teams and how often it happens, I have this going overtime. And it being a one-goal game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 4-3 Utica.
I think
it's going to be less of a shootout and more of a 15-round heavyweight championship slugfest kind of thing. Both teams are going to take their punches and get back up, but
we've seen it go to a shootout. We've seen 4-3 us. We've seen 4-3 them. It's going to be a slog, no matter what, no matter which way you look at it. It's definitely going to be a close game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. If Utica does not come into it ready for a fight, they are going to lose.
Absolutely. I think ultimately first team to score wins. Because if it's Utica, they get buoyed by that. We have a lead. We're in front of our home crowd. We still have it. Last week was a fluke. This is who we actually are. But if they get behind again, I'm worried that same defeated, sloppy play can show up again.
Yeah.
Where you're playing behind, so you're putting pressure on yourself. You're overthinking things. You're taking, you're frustrated, so you're thinking more about what went wrong than what's going on right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried that could still show up.
Yep.
I do think Baltimore comes in after winning on Saturday. I will say that. And that's mostly because Baltimore's played a game. Milwaukee hasn't.
Yep.
And Florida had played a game and had played more recently than had played more recently than Baltimore. They handled them. They had just played a game, and they had played far more games more recently than Utica, and they were sharper and cleaner. We saw St. Louis play down in Dallas. St. Louis has already played 2 games. Dallas, a young team that hadn't played at all, St. Louis handled them pretty easily.
Yep.
I think until the league gets back up to speed and we get into the heart of things a little bit more, those teams that have played are going to have an advantage.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, anyone who simply because of the gap in how long it's been for some of these players. Yeah, it's still going to play a factor until, I don't know, I would say potentially mid-season. I think that's or even this entire season.
Mid-January, February, I think you start to see everything really clean itself up, but
yeah.
And the good thing for Utica is they have 5 or 6 games here in December. The one that just happened, they get Baltimore. They play Harrisburg on back-to-back games next week, Friday night and Saturday. Then they play Baltimore again in Utica the day after Christmas. Like there's a lot of opportunity for that rust to come off quickly.
Looking forward to that one.
Oh, so am I, because I can be there.
Then you and I are going to need to have a discussion.
Oh?
I already brought it up, so we'll talk.
Let's see. Okay, so yeah, that will be the 5th game in December, and then January sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more games. So it'll be fun. 4 home games here in December. I think that helps the team as well, just because they don't have to travel as much during the holidays. But we'll see what happens. We will certainly hope for a win on Sunday, because 1-1 sounds a whole lot better than 0-2. And
well, I would hope so. Yeah, definitely. Being 1-1 versus 0-2 every day. We felt. I mean, just look at one more time. Going to bring it up.
mm-hmm.
Just look at that. Just look at the game this past weekend. We felt so much better as soon as there was a 1 on the board instead of having a 0. Even if it was 4-1, we still had something on the board, and it did invigorate us going into the half. The crowd, anyway. It seemed to, the team came out and they were, definitely a little bit invigorated for a little while in the second half, and then, everything else happened. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's so. I mean, a 1 will make a big difference in the win column.
Yeah. Plus, it's in your own division here, which there are 16 games amongst the division, 4 against Florida, 6 against Baltimore and 6 against Harrisburg. So when it comes down to playoff seeding, if you can get that first seed, it's a lot easier when you're not in an 0-2 hole against your own division.
Right. Exactly.
Not that we should even be talking about playoffs yet, but
it's always good to look positively at the future.
Every game counts, and you don't want to look back on it being like, well, yeah, if we'd only started as good as we're finishing.
Nope, got to move on. Got to move forward.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like our other guest isn't joining us, seeing as we're now an hour and 11 minutes into this, and he hasn't answered here on our recording chat.
Yeah, probably busy.
Yeah.
With the suit.
Look, the women go crazy for a sharp-dressed man, and I'm going to stop right there before we get sued by ZZ Top.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And there's the lawsuit. You done did it. You screwed it up.
Dang it. My bad, guys. They're taking us for all we have, which isn't a whole lot. They're going to have all the ad revenue. I do want to throw this out there before we wrap it up and close it up and say thanks for listening and all the usual. Brandon, you were approached during the game about the jersey you were wearing.
Yes. We had, I'm assuming I think it was, I've seen him before. And he was wearing Baltimore colors, so I'm assuming potentially somebody just coming up to watch the game. But yes, we were not in, regular attire. We had our long awaited Lager Derby jerseys on that we had. What, you had that? Because, you're the one basically responsible for it. So,
Look, I try not to toot my own horn too much, but yes, that was all me.
They were, you got those essentially commissioned and, I shouldn't, they are Utica City, but really they are Utica Club. So, with the city logo.
Yes. It is a Utica City t-shirt jersey, not instead of the long sleeve, with Utica Club as the sponsor logo instead of Empire or the other company. I think Wells Fargo's one and the other company that I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
They were special pieces, each individually ordered. You have one, Michelle has one, I have one, the FC Fanatic has one, the man behind the mic has one. The man who used to run the video and audio and everything for the Comets and City has one. But I had an extra one commissioned. And I've shared it on social media a couple of times. It is a men's large, one-of-a-kind jersey. Literally, there was none other like it. Because
except for ours.
Well, they are similar. They are not identical.
Mm-hmm.
Yours has your name on it and your own number. Mine has my name and my own number.
Right.
For the name on the back, it says Utica City. For the number, it says 19 because the season was the 19th 20 season.
Yep.
I'll get it out there, probably Sunday morning on our social media channels. If we can get this through our back channels to get it team signed, I would like to raffle it off. Get it in the hands of a fan. Besides just sitting here folded up next to my signed baseballs and sports cards and other memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
And the intent of this, depending on how much raise, is to help us fund some road trips this year. I know you and Michelle have talked about going to Harrisburg.
Yep.
I
made that trip before.
I am hoping, since I I need to get into the DMV and update my license and all that, but I'm hoping to have everything in place where I could go to the Ontario game on a Tuesday night and meet up with our friend Matt Huber. These things cost money. This seems like a good way to raise a little bit. I spitballed prices in my head. I think $1 a ticket or 10 for 5 is a good way to go.
Yeah.
I've run this kind of stuff for my card collecting before. Everything goes through, PayPal or Cash App or Venmo, whatever people are comfortable with, or Facebook Pay for whatever. Every name and ticket goes into a Excel spreadsheet. You run that through random.org. Top name wins it.
Mm-hmm.
Cover shipping. Get it out with tracking. Everybody's happy.
Yep.
So if we can get it signed, that's what I want to do. So that's just anyone listening. If you're interested, keep an eye on our social media. All that information will be running after on our outro, so be sure to stick around and listen to it. The other thing I need to mention, TeePublic's Black Friday sale was extended into their Christmas sale. So it's up to 30% off on all of our stuff that's on TeePublic. I think you have until next Friday to get it in, but yeah, t-shirts, stickers, hoodies, coffee mugs, pillows, whatever.
All the stuff.
All the swag. I think that's everything we want to say tonight. Like I said, let's treat that last game like a victim of the mob and just bury it in a shallow ditch and not talk about it and pretend we know nothing if anyone brings it up.
Yeah, I think that's probably the the best approach. Keep it in the back of your head, remember it, learn from it, but otherwise, bury it.
Mm-hmm. So signing off, we say thank you for listening as always. I'm Matt.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Jill.
You almost had me fooled there. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to us so you never miss an episode. If that podcast app also has reviews, be sure to leave us 5 stars to let us know how we're doing and reach a larger audience. It really helps us out. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Keeper Corners Pod. And you can always find us there talking UCFC soccer. Thanks again for the support. It's truly appreciated. One last thing. Go Utica.